How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome back to the Geekritique show. My name is Dakota.
And I'm Shen.
And we're going to be talking all about Doctor Who today. This is our ongoing series, Who Review, where we go to past episodes or present episodes of Doctor Who. And in this case, we're going to be going to the story State of Decay, which was a classic Fourth Doctor story. And we're going to be talking about that. Last week we talked about Full Circle, which was the story just before that. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, we're not going to be going in chronological order with these stories. We're going to do the E-Space trilogy. We started last week, we're doing this week, and then the next week, Warrior's Gate, we're going to be doing that as well. So that's going to be our schedule going forward. But any story you guys want us to do after Warrior's Gate, let us know, and we'll let you guys know, so that you guys can prepare yourselves for those stories that you want us to cover. And if you guys want to follow along with what we're going to be doing next week or the week after that, or anything we have planned for the Who Review series going forward, we will let you know in the comments below, if not in the actual video itself. So again, next week we're going to be doing, pull it out for you guys. We're going to be doing the next episode the next story within the E-Space trilogy called Warrior's Gate. And that's story 114, and you guys can get this on Amazon. I'll link it in the description below. Or you can get a subscription with BritBox, which is the only place to actually stream classic Doctor Who currently.
But we don't know which episodes they have.
I did look it up, yes.
Oh, you do?
They do have all of Tom Baker's stuff.
Ayo.
Not a lot of first and second Doctor, though, so...
Mayo.
You can follow along by watching either the DVD or you can stream it somewhere. Those are two places you can do it legally and two ways you can do it legally. Our next episode, Warrior's Gate, is already available to you guys on Patreon by the time this comes out on YouTube, basically. So next Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever this is released. So just to give you guys a heads up, if you want to join our Patreon to help support what we do, you also get stuff a little bit early, a week early in fact, when it comes to our Who Review series as we are moving forward. And our random patron of the day is Murphy Giller.
Murphy!
So be sure to check out his channel, Broken Chain Studios. He's just starting it out. It's a geek channel kind of like what we do here. So that's pretty cool. Alright guys, on to the show, State of Decay.
State of Decay.
What a good story.
It was really good.
It's
I'm
a
not gonna
cool
lie.
Story. It's a
Tom
cool
Baker
story.
is so awesome. He's so cool. He is the Doctor.
We have won her over.
It really didn't take that long.
Now, you've seen how many classic Doctors at this point? You've seen what, 3?
I thought 2.
You've seen the first Doctor. You've seen a few stories
I have.
of his.
Okay, yeah, I have seen the first Doctor.
Oh, you actually have seen the second Doctor as well.
What did I
Tomb
see?
of the Cybermen.
Oh, I have seen the second Doctor, and I saw the one that I like that nobody else really likes.
Sylvester McCoy, the seventh
Sylvester
Doctor.
McCoy, and now
So,
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker.
Ooh, guys, I'm moving on up.
You've officially seen most of the Doctors. How do you feel?
I feel edumacated.
Edumacated? Alright, so let's continue your education with the second story in the E-Space trilogy, State of Decay.
How did you know?
Oh, knowing's easy. Everyone does that ad nauseum. I just sort of hope. What do you make of it, K9?
Let's talk about what the episode was about. Why don't you start that off?
Oh, jeez.
What do you think? What do you think the story's about?
The Doctor and Romana are lost in E-Space, which is like a pocket of space that's like separate from my knowledge.
Right. It's
I don't know
almost
if that's
like
a dumb way to put it, but
no, I mean, it is a dumb way to put it. No, but I'm just kidding. It's basically they entered a pocket dimension. Like they somehow got sucked into an alternate universe or a parallel universe, something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like a negative universe.
It's like the Upside Down.
Yeah, like if the coordinates for this are 57, 66, blah, 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 this is negative 57, 66.
Oh.
That's
See, I had a totally different idea in my little
That's how they're explaining it that's how they explained it in Full Circle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
Remember K9 was just like, it doesn't compute, master. That's what he says, yeah, master.
I love K9, just throwing that out there. And I love the way that Tom Baker talks to K9. Because it's fantastic. He literally talks to him like he's a real dog, and it's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah, it's true.
They're in E-Space, and they don't realize that they have a stowaway, Adric. And basically they are on this planet where there's just like one castle and like a little village, and that's all that there is on the entire planet, which is a little bit weird. And then it gets even more weird when they don't even know of any strangers, which is, like, super weird, and, like, people are getting, like, selected for stuff.
Who are you? How did you come here?
Oh, I walked.
I don't know you.
Well, I don't know you either.
That's not possible.
And then, like, I can go full spoilers, right?
This is full spoilers. Oh, if you're watching this, we presume you have seen the episode at this point because we have been telling you guys about it.
Yeah, get
For
the
a few
DVD,
weeks now.
Holmes.
Or watch it on BritBox.
Basically, there's, like, an alien race that are called the Great Vampire.
Yeah, they're like super ancient.
Like, super ancient, like, Time Lords were fighting them a while back.
They actually said it was when Rassilon was young, and he was one of the first, like, of the Time Lords.
Which is crazy to me, so me being, like I haven't watched a lot of Classic Who, I didn't realize that Rassilon was such an old character. So now that, like, I saw him in an episode recently, like, now I can put together, like, oh, crap, that's the same dude, that's crazy.
He's the person who basically started regeneration. Like, he made it possible for Time Lords to be able to do that.
Huh.
Before then, they were just Gallifreyans.
That's cray-cray.
Basically, he evolved them into Time Lords, basically. So,
Whoa.
yeah, so he was a child when the Gallifreyans or the Time Lords fought against the... or he was still young, I shouldn't say a child.
Okay, he was a youngin.
Yes.
He was a youngling.
When they fought against these great vampires. That, it's pretty interesting, the idea of what these creatures, these aliens are, kind of permeated throughout all of the universe. And that's why there are, like, these legends of vampires, like, in all corners of the world, kind of like how we got it on Earth, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Like how we got the stories.
What is it?
Do you know, it just occurs to me. There are vampire legends on almost every inhabited planet.
Really?
Yes. Creatures that stalk in the night and feast on the blood of the living.
Yeah, and that's how Doctor Who explains...
Which I think it's cool when they go into our folklore and then give
little backstory.
a backstory, like they create a story. But again, like I really have to hand it to them, like the sci-fi elephants. But yeah, I've got to hand it to them. The sci-fi elements of this episode are really, really cool. The concept of like this ship crash landing and connecting with like another race, and I think it's so cool the way that they go into the world building and go in depth within the Who universe. Is this the first mention of the Great Vampire, or are they?
Yeah, this is the first and only mention of the Great Vampire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is so cool because they just go so deep into the history of the Time Lords themselves and explain so much without trying to make it overly complex. Mm-hmm. Like they went into and cover the history of that planet, then they go into like some Time Lord history and then have like really interesting sci-fi elements involved as well. And I feel like if today they would like overwrite or overcomplicate things and it wouldn't be so simple and eloquent.
Right. One thing they did well, like going off of what you said, yes, they explained the history of this planet. They explained how the civilization got the way it is. But they also explained a little bit of their war with the Time Lords, which kind of helped shape what the Time Lords were.
It's about a race of giant vampires.
Vampires?
They came out of nowhere. And swarmed and swarmed.
What did they do, Doctor?
Swarm, that was the word he used.
Kind of set the precedent that these are a warring people, which kind of set up what would eventually become the Time War. So this isn't the first war that they've fought with other individuals, which is pretty interesting. But you can also like take the story threads that they give you and inference like, well, this helped develop what we see on Earth as well, based on the history that they're building and all of that, which I think is super awesome.
Yeah. There's no such thing as an absolute perfect episode, but the way that this was written, and with the limited resources that they had to produce it, it was really good. And I was even saying to Dakota in the car, like, the fact that we didn't have to actually see the Great Vampire at the end. We never actually saw it. You know, we saw a little bit, like, in the
The X-ray.
Like, we saw a little bit, which was really silly looking, and then we saw, like, a hand coming out of the ground, but we didn't actually see the monster, and that's 100% fine by me. Like, you don't need to spell everything out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that, and it kind of reminded me of, what was the episode that we had this season with...
Thin Ice.
Thin Ice. We never completely saw the monster.
Doctor?
And the fact that they only showed, you know, certain parts of that fish made it seem so much larger. You know, so I really enjoy when they kind of leave stuff up to the imagination.
Yeah, and the whole episode, kind of like what Thin Ice did, is it sets up this great beast that you don't actually ever see. Which actually, I mean, you do see a little bit of it, and it looks a little wonky, so it... But they do
the
in
bits
this
that they
as well.
showed, and the bits that they showed even weren't necessary in that
Exactly.
episode and this episode.
Yeah, it's
You
almost
know?
like it would have been better served if they didn't show any, or as little as possible, as which is what I'm trying to get across. Episodes like Vincent and the Doctor, where you have this creature that is invisible, and then you go ahead and show it anyway, like with a certain mirror. You kind of take away a little bit of the mystique about this creature, and the episode could have been really well done if they hadn't shown it, but it kind of cheapens it a little bit by throwing in a CGI monster a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think unless you can do a monster really well, then don't do it at all. You know, it's not necessary.
Right.
I don't know. That's just
So
me.
in this episode, we do get to see like the hand coming out of the ground.
Yeah, I liked that.
And these are this giant creatures. I love the way the Doctor like figured out how to get rid of it. Basically, and which was also a really cool little thing that they put in there, was that Rassilon had stashed away files on a Type 40 TARDIS, which is exactly the type of TARDIS that the Doctor had.
And it was an emergency instruction. A copy of the book was to be installed in certain time vehicles.
What time vehicles?
Oh, I don't know, I forget.
What time vehicles?
Type 40, I think.
Psst. TARDIS is a Type 40.
Is it?
Rassilon didn't know that the Doctor was going to be, you know, destroying the last of the Great Vampires. It's cool that that existed. There is a rumor that Chris Chibnall is going to use the idea of the Great Vampires in his upcoming series. That's really interesting, but what if we actually do see the Doctor go back to that war that the Time Lords fought back in the day, and he was the one who put them in the Type 40 TARDIS? Because what are the coincidences that literally the Type 40...
Yeah, that's true. I really loved the dynamics between Romana and the Doctor in this episode too, where her memory is fantastic.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Like, she's like quick as a whip. And even, you know, the Doctor's kind of like, what was it called again? And she says, like, the names of all the people. And then she said that Rassilon put the files in and in TARDISes. And he's like, what type? Type 40.
She's great.
And I feel like the look on her face was, like, was smug. Like, she knew his was a Type 40 TARDIS. And she was waiting for him to say, oh, that's my type of TARDIS.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was really great.
What did you think of the relationship with Romana and the Doctor?
I thought it was really funny and really, like, they were just playing off each other, you know, very natural, not trying to be anything. And I don't know how, I keep saying that, I don't know what's the proper phrase for that, but it's just very organic, very realistic. And it kind of reminds me of, like, some of the stuff that Dakota and I say, like when Tom Baker, when, you know, the king and the queen walk away and Tom Baker goes, I bet you they don't want to be followed. And they just walk and sit on the chair.
You know something? I don't think they want to be followed.
Like, that wasn't a plot point. That wasn't trying to get any message across. It wasn't trying to be anything other than just a funny little, like, thing that he said. And I feel like we always say dumb stuff like that and joke around like that. So I think it's really cool to see the Doctor doing that.
Yeah, and I told you this during... while we were watching the last episode, the final episode of State of Decay, which is a 4-episode series, actually aired the day that Tom Baker, the 4th Doctor, and Lala Ward, which was the 2nd Romana, got married in real life. And they were only married for about a year and a half, but which is tragic because they were like the cutest on-screen couple. You could see the chemistry on screen.
I feel like there were times where they probably even had to like tone it down. You know what I mean? Like maybe there were cuts where they were being too flirty or something.
There
like
were
that.
scenes where it almost, to me, it looked like they had actually just like had a little argument or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in episodes like 2 or 3, like the way they interacted with each other was just like very trite.
There was once an old hermit from the mountains of South Gallifrey.
Did he lead a very sheltered life?
Yes. Yes, he did.
That's actually, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Knowing the background of what was going on at the time, like I could see that happening.
But they're so cute, and it makes me so sad they didn't last longer in their marriage.
Oh well.
I want them to still be together.
Me too. Me too.
Because they're super cute. But obviously, you know, seeing things on screen is different than reality. But they're cute.
Yeah. So what did you think about Adric in this episode? Has he grown on you at all?
Yo, Adric fooled me.
Yeah, he did.
So when he was like, well, what's the point? Blah, 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 and was being all sassy with Romana, I was like, this little prat.
Oh, yes, the doctor. Is he coming back from the TARDIS?
Well, we were supposed to join him there after we'd rescued you.
Only you didn't, did you?
Didn't what?
Rescue me.
He really is ridiculous. Like, how dare he? And out loud I said to Dakota, like, and how does he qualify as a companion? Because in the last episode that I saw with him, I was like, okay, he's not all that great. Like, homeboy can't even steal a watermelon. And then in this episode when he did that, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, why is he a companion? But then at the end of the episode that he was just like fooling them, I was like, oh, okay. He's a little bit bratty though.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Little
Wee
bit.
bit bratty. But yeah. Oh, I like him. He's good. After that, I was like, okay, you've earned a few bratty points. I don't know how many I can give you.
His brother died in the previous story.
Yeah, that's true. Which that kind of sucks.
He
Really
gets
sucks.
He is allowed to be an angsty teen for a little bit longer.
Yeah, just a little bit longer.
little.
And he did the right thing at the end of the day. So that's good.
I love seeing episodes written by Terrence Dicks. He's one of the show's greatest writers, I think. And he's been around since the early years, pretty much. I wish he still wrote Who scripts at this point, but he's probably too old for it now. Really good seeing his name on screen again because he was one of my favorite writers back in the day. What do you think of the concept of the civilization and how that was worked into the story? So for those who don't remember or need some reminding, the characters who lived on this planet, this was their homeworld, originated from Earth. And they went into space for some unknown reason. They were on some voyage, and they got sucked or they got pulled into E-space. We know from later on in the series that they were pulled by the Great Vampire himself to, I guess, sustain him throughout the years until he was ready or strong enough.
He basically farmed humanity.
He farmed humans, which is just disgusting.
Yeah, that's just gross.
Just gross, man. But he gave the 3 leaders life. There was the king, the queen, and Akon.
Let us have the girl.
The girl is a Time Lord. One of the ancient enemies of the Great One.
The rest of the people kind of,
We're just pigs waiting for the slaughter.
Yeah, and they degenerated throughout the
Yeah.
years as they stopped learning, stopped going to school, stopped being scientists and doctors and all of that. And they just became peasants, bottom level peasants.
Full-fledged peasants.
Yeah. Which is the whole idea of the title of the episode, State of Decay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's decay in multiple ways, in the fact that their bodies actually decayed, but then also their civilization actually was slowly regressing to the point that it was the Dark Ages, which I thought was a fantastic concept because now not only is it scientific, but it's also kind of historical because the way that the king and queen were dressed were very, I don't want to say Renaissance, but yeah, I guess kind of.
I'd say Renaissance.
Yeah, you'd say Renaissance.
Yeah.
I also thought it was cool that their names slowly over time changed in the way that, it's funny because now even humans, even in E-space and on a totally different planet, still kind of fall into the same nature. Humanity doesn't change. So with the historical elements, the natural course of language changing through the generations, the scientific elements, I thought that this episode was just a really cool mix of so many things that made a very natural and compelling story. Just so many It was just like a nice ball of like perfectly ratioed different elements.
Yeah,
Like a pizza pie with many toppings.
It was a fantasy story in a sci-fi setting,
Yeah.
which you don't see done well very often.
Yeah.
You
It
do see
always
every
feels
now and
like
then,
they're
but-
trying, like, sometimes we get some stories that it's trying to be, like, sci-fi and fantasy in one, and it's like, you can't be everything. Like, you're ruining it. Like, just pick one and do it well. But this was, they picked two and did it really well. And then on top of that, world building within the actual Who universe, it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
I would dare say, really great.
Ooh, really great.
Ooh.
Do you have any final thoughts for State of Decay? I know you just summed it all up and said it's really great. But are there any qualms you had? Are there anything else you want to bring up?
I guess I wonder what happened to all those people. Like, were they... Oh, well, no, their planet was left, but they were like... Now it's like you can all be scientists.
Right.
What happened to them?
Well, yeah. After... Oh, we didn't actually, explain how the Doctor destroyed
Oh, yeah.
the Great Vampire. He used the ship to rocket itself up and then come straight back down because it's a giant steel beam that needs to go through the creature's heart. And the Doctor was able to calibrate it so perfectly to, stake him.
Stake 'em.
But the rest of the people on this planet, besides the three who were ruling, now have freedom to live their lives like normal humans have, the freedom of choice, especially when it comes to education and stuff, which is really cool. What do you think of the three who had lived for over 1,000 years no longer having the Great Vampire to
Sustain them, and
sustain
they're
their
just
life?
shriveling up into raisins.
I really liked the effect that they
Yeah, they
did.
were like...
Yeah,
They just aged, like, bing!
they did it. I think they did it really well because it wasn't like they did a stop motion now it's a little older, now it's a little older, now you're just bones. They looked at them and you saw them reacting, and then they pan over to the Doctor or Romana or someone in the room, and they're just looking at them freaked out, and then you turn back to them and they had become a little bit older, a little more withered, or it was a different camera angle, and eventually they were just basically bones and dust.
Again, I feel like Doctor Who back then had such limited resources, and that's why they made very wise choices. Now it's like, we have so much money, let's do this.
We can do it in post.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later, and they have scenes that just sometimes
flat.
don't transition very well because they don't do it the good old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
I like the good old-fashioned way.
Me too.
Even to the castle itself, the fact that it was actually a spaceship kind of reminded me of the last episode of New Who that we had, the Doctor Falls, where they're in a barn and it's actually a spaceship and they go down, into the underbelly of the spaceship. And I think it's really cool, and I feel like this episode is so good that now that I'm looking back, I feel like this episode has inspired so many New Who writers. You can kind of see the different elements, so that's why it wouldn't surprise me if Chibnall took from this episode, because it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he reused this story thread, basically.
I would not either.
What did you guys think of State of Decay? Hopefully you had the chance to watch it before watching our Who review. If not, please do give it a shot. And
Yeah, do yourself a favor.
Be sure to check out next week's story before you watch our Who review, preferably, because we are going to be doing full spoilers again with Warriors Gate. But again, if you guys have already caught up with Warriors Gate and you want to see our Who review, or you've already seen Warriors Gate and you want to see our Who review as soon as possible, please go to our Patreon. It'll be there.
And let's have a discussion. Comment, please. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
That's why we're doing this. So
Yes.
let us know your thoughts. And if you're like, you two are Yank idiots, you don't even get Doctor Who, just put some constructive criticism with that, and we'd appreciate it.
Explain why we don't get it as being Yanks.
Yeah, people just say, you're Yank idiots, you don't get anything. But why?
But why don't we get it?
What don't we get?
I think we do.
We try. Isn't
Try
that
our
enough
best.
for you?
Not for some people. Thank you for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and comment. Again, comment your thoughts. We would love to hear what you had to say about State of Decay.
And comment Yank idiots.
Don't comment, yeah, kids, please. Again, let us know any stories you want us to cover going forward, because we are really excited about this new, facet of the Geekritique show. So come join us in that endeavor, and we'll see you guys next week, or now if you are our Patreon. Bye, guys.
All right, bye.